I got it! When I first heard about Dave being trapped in a maze...
1, 2, 3, 4!
I built a labyrinth. Can you believe it?
Dave is trapped in a cardboard maze in his living room and he can't get out.
Welcome to Dave Made a Minute, the podcast where a whole bunch of us are exploring the film Dave Made a Maze 1 minute at a time. The twist. Many of the participants have never seen the film. Some don't even know what film they're sampling. They get their minutes and they tackle them as they see fit. Here's your host from the Groundhog Day Project and Michael Myers Minute, Robert Black.
Minute 31. Strange things are afoot in the Forced Perspective Room. To tackle Minute 31, we have Travis Bowe of Watchmen Minute and Jason Croxon getting to know who.
You come home, there's a giant maze in your living room. You're like, what the? There's a giant maze in my living room. I've heard of people rearranging the furniture, but this is wackadoodle crazy. Give me a sense of that.
This doesn't make any sense.
Is it a problem? Is it a problem to my set? Let's do it. It's a problem.
It's like a fucking cocktail party in here.
I get a few words from you before you go.
Welcome to Dave Made a Minute. I'm your host, Travis Bowe from the Real Comic Heroes podcast and Watchmen Minute. And today I am your host for Minute 31 of Dave Made a Maze. Last time I was on the show was Minute 13, and back then I had intended to record all of my minutes first time through, never having watched the movie, and then I was going to come back and record like kind of a spoiler section or a little follow-up bit having watched the movie. And then once I recorded my first minute 13, then I sat down and watched the movie and basically didn't stop watching the movie. So I ended up watching the entire thing. And so for this minute, I can't really do that, the magic of going into this completely blind is now gone. So I had to find myself a volunteer, and joining me this episode is Jason from Getting to Know Who.
Hello.
Hello.
So
how are you?
I have, I'm okay, I think.
Are you a little nervous?
I have no idea what we're doing. So, you literally like an hour ago just said if I was free, and I was, and that's about as much as I know.
Right.
And you specified that I must have not seen this film.
Yeah.
And I haven't.
Have you heard of Dave Made a Maze?
I don't think so.
Okay.
It might be that afterwards I'll understand that I have heard of it. I really hope it's not going to be afterwards I go, oh yeah, I have seen this. That happens sometimes.
Okay.
But
a little background,
yeah.
It is a movie from like 2017, so it's not, all that old, but I think it's 2017. I might be off on that, but it's relatively, recent, but very little known, I think. So.
Yeah, I mean, I off the top of my head, I don't think I've heard of it, but I do listen to an insane amount of podcasts, so I may well have heard about it, and it's just sort of knocking around somewhere in my brain, but I don't think so.
Okay, well, I think that's going to make for an interesting next few minutes. So. For the listeners, I've sent Jason the clip of minute 31 here, and in a moment I'm going to have Jason watch the minute. And Jason, if you want, you can kind of just watch it as we listen. You can narrate it if you want, like whatever your initial reaction is as you're watching it. Feel free to just, whatever your process is, that's fine. And then after that, we'll talk about the minute. I've got a lot of notes on the minute itself. I know you've not had time to prepare, so you're not going to have notes as far as what you've watched, but I think we'll get into it after that. So
yeah, it's very strange for me because usually when I watch a movie, I'm just having to answer questions from my wife about what's going on. So This is sort of it's going to be an interesting experiment because usually I'm just saying, shh, be quiet. I don't know. To actually actively try and commentate is going to be interesting. I have no idea what I'm about to watch. It's really weird.
Well, I won't make you, suffer any longer. So whenever you're ready, go ahead and hit play, and then we'll talk after that.
Okay, so I've got it queued up, and before I press play, I can see a room that looks like it's sort of made out of paper or cardboard or something, and a woman that is not made of cardboard or paper. She seems real. So let's see. Hey, she looks as confused as me. That's good. Oh. And someone else has come in. And a cameraman. Okay. Oh, alright. There's a lot of stuff going on with perspective here, and
what are you guys doing in here?
What have you done?
I'm sorry, okay?
oh, he was just about to explain what he's done, and the minute ends. That's frustrating. Right, so I still don't know what I've just seen. And the only comfort I find is that it seems that about 5 people went into this room, and they are all as confused as I am. So I feel like I'm not alone.
Right. And that's how I felt the first time I had watched this minute, when I was first given, assigned the minutes that I have. And, it's a weird feeling watching this, it's a weird movie to begin with. So then to watch little bits of it with no context is also very strange. So that's really what I was hoping for, is just that initial reaction of what the hell did I just watch?
Yeah, I really wanted to comment as I was watching it, and I couldn't because just too many weird things kept happening at the same time. So basically what I've seen is there's this room, and people just keep coming into this room, and it's just playing with where they're positioning it looks like the cup is on the table, but it's actually a giant cup. It's on the floor, but further away. And then it looks like there's a chair at the table, but it's a tiny chair that's very close to the camera. The best one was there's like a portrait on the wall. And for a good 20 seconds, it seems like this girl is staring at this like portrait. And just at the end, you see that she's clearly not looking at that, because that was also very small in the corner of the screen kind of thing. Oh,
well,
but
and there's
why? That's my question.
Yeah. And so I'm not sure if she's not looking at the portrait, because there is sort of a magical, whimsical quality about this maze that they're in. And, a few seconds before the portrait, you have his name's Gordon. He goes up to the table, and he's looking down at the table. Looks like he's looking at that coffee cup, and he reaches down to grab it, when then you see the cameraman in the background pick it up. And so then Gordon kind of looks at the cup almost with some like frustration, like, I was going to pick up this cup, but now I can't because it's no longer in front of me. So it's playing with that perspective in a couple different ways. Like I don't know that it's not in front of them until they break the perspective. Yeah.
Yeah, I've got you. Yeah, that's true, because I mean, he did look like he was going to grab it. And while that's a good kind of gag for us, obviously for them in world, he wouldn't be sort of setting it up for people watching, or would he? I don't know. Maybe, maybe there is an audience within this film as well. Who knows? I don't. Definitely haven't seen it before, though. Okay, I can confirm now.
Okay, good.
I would have remembered this.
Yeah. A little bit of background then. So the movie is called Dave Made a Maze. Dave is the guy that comes in the last a few seconds of the minute in the kind of red and white t-shirt. He built this maze out of cardboard and, other odd and end materials. He built it in his living room, and he lives with Annie, the woman you see at the start of the movie, or the minute. So it's their apartment, and then everyone else that comes into the space is it's his friend Gordon who comes in. He's the one that tries to pick up the cup, and then the documentary crew just happens to be kind of following them along in this journey through the maze, because Dave has spent the weekend in the apartment by himself building this maze. He went into the maze, and then about 3 days later, Annie came home and wondered where Dave was. He could hear her outside the walls of this cardboard maze that he built, and said, "Hey, I'm stuck inside the maze. I'm lost. I don't know how I get out of here." And eventually all these people entered the maze against his request and are now trying to, get themselves out of the maze. So I don't know if that helps.
I don't know if that helps. I mean, I'm guessing it's even that surely is somehow fooling us with sort of size and perspective and things, because if he's built a maze inside this apartment, I'm assuming it's not a huge apartment.
Right.
It's got this maze looks.
Yeah, it has a bit of a TARDIS quality. It's bigger on the inside. So the moment they go inside the maze, it's the laws of physics sort of change. So, at the start of the movie, when you can actually see the maze from the outside, and it just looks like, a couple of refrigerator boxes taped together and, some odd bits sticking out here or there. And so it doesn't make sense that how could anyone get lost in here? They're just sitting inside my apartment, but they're really not. They're deep within the maze. So.
Oh, see, now now I'm like you, thinking, do I need to now go and watch this whole thing to understand what? It was so annoying because she comes and she says, "What have you done?" And he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry." And he's just about to say something, and it literally stopped at that second. Yeah. And I'm frustrated now. See, I wasn't built for minute by minute. I am definitely like if I'm watching one episode, I might as well watch all 12 right now.
Yeah.
Well,
hopefully
Well, I was going to say, it's not helped by the fact that now you have like Netflix that will put out 12 episodes at once. When we watch stuff that's week by week and we finish an episode, my wife's like, "Okay, next episode." I'm like, "You've got to wait. It's not out next week."
Yeah.
She gets angry. She's like, "Why have you even shown me this thing? You just wait until it's all ready." So, I should get her to do a minute by minute breakdown. That'd be brilliant.
Or just show her this minute.
Yeah. I think I will. I will definitely show her this just to trip her out, if nothing else, because it makes no sense.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. So I want to get into, you've only had a chance to really just watch it the one time. So I want to go through, I've kind of broken down what every individual person does in the minute, because at a certain point when you get 3 or 4 people in here and they're all doing things in the room, it's a little difficult to see what they're doing. So, I want to start with Annie. We're just going to follow her throughout the minute and everything that she does. So it starts out with her, like you said, she looks confused. She looks bewildered and kind of uncomfortable. She turns to her left and kind of sees this framed portrait, and it kind of appears like maybe it's a portrait of her. So she just...
Yeah, I was going to say, is that because I didn't know who she was when, or where she was, or who had made this maze and what their relationship to her is. So you're saying that she's the girlfriend? Am I right?
She is the girlfriend of Dave, yeah.
So it would make sense that there would be a painting of her in something he made. Because I was thinking when she first saw it, like, is she trapped in this maze that she doesn't know who's made it, and there's a really weird painting of her in there? So that would have been...
Yeah.
But no, it makes sense. Okay, I'm going to assume it's a nice thing that there's a
I think so, yeah. Yeah, I think Dave has tried to appoint this room with some comforts of home. I don't know. So she kind of frustratingly seeming, she tussles her own hair as she's kind of looking around this room, and she looks just more and more frustrated and confused. And then, of course, Dave pops in, asks what they're doing in here, and then she says, "What have you done?"
Yeah. And I think the comment you made before about the guy that picks up the coffee cup kind of just before the other guy, she is also looking at it,
right?
Sees him about to take it, and then it get grabbed by the other guy, and turns and looks at him as well. So I think you're right in this kind of, it was on the table.
Right.
Until he grabs it, because then she's like, "Hey, where's the cup gone?" Looks at him, and then they both look at the cameraman.
Yeah.
And she then looks back quite sort of perplexed and surprised.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then, like, if you notice when she's, like you said, it seems like she's staring at the portrait for a long time. And up until it's Harry is the director of this documentary, he basically steps into, in the front of the camera and interacts with this portrait. And so then when he steps away, she's
scratching her head like,
yeah.
Maybe where did this go?
Right.
I was looking at some of her hair. Okay.
So that's kind of Annie's journey throughout this minute. The next person that comes into the room, or the first person that we see come into the room, is Gordon. Gordon is Dave's, I assume, his best friend. He's kind of the first person that he tells Annie to call, when she comes home and finds that he's trapped in the maze. So he runs in, kind of stops immediately. He looks around for a bit, then walks towards the back of the room, close to the door, and then approaches the table. And like we've talked about, he attempts to grab the coffee cup that seems further away. And I noticed, like, when he doesn't grab it, he looks bummed. Like, if you look at his face, he just looks disappointed, or kind of lets out a little huff almost.
Yeah. And then he goes to the back to, like, it seems like he's going to go and confront this guy, but he's just, he just stands by the door.
Yeah.
And doesn't.
Yeah. So he ends up spending the rest of the minute, I think, just kind of near that door. He spins around, turns around a little bit, looks around, and then Dave comes in. So.
Yeah. Okay. So he doesn't seem that interesting.
Yeah.
Just sort of goes for a cup, doesn't get it. You're right. He looks so sad. Like, I didn't get this. And then he just goes and sulks by the door.
Mm-hmm.
And the cameraman is filming him, but that's it.
Yeah. Let's see. Camera guy enters, and I noted that, like, when he enters, he's kind of crouching as he's in the hallway, so he has to duck underneath to get in, and then he's able to fully stand up in this room. So it's been a little while since I've watched the whole movie, but there are passageways that are a little different in size. So
yeah,
he kind of,
although when you see him come through, the corridor he's in does not look that short, like that low.
The doorway, it seems like is shorter, but it looks like the hallway is taller on the outside. So yeah, I don't know why they built a shorter doorway, but it's part of the madness of this movie. So
he's looking up a lot more than anybody else by the looks of things. He sort of comes in and immediately he's looking up. Maybe again it's because he's tall. I wouldn't know.
Yeah. And so, he comes in, he does a little bit of a look around and goes to that back corner where he kind of does a squat almost and bends down and picks up this coffee cup. And I also noticed that he doesn't, like, set the camera down at all. He still has the camera in his right hand, so he's using his right arm as, kind of the other support for the coffee cup.
Yeah, and then he tips it out and there's nothing inside.
Yep, kind of tips it and kind of gets a look at the cup itself, I think. And then what I love is he like lifts it up a little bit and does this big grin as he looks over at Annie. And it has this quality of like the way a newborn or a new father like holds up his kid, like, yo, look at my baby boy, you know, just this look of pride almost, like, look what I did, you know, before setting the cup down and then resuming his camera operating responsibilities. He points the camera at Gordon, then back down to the coffee cup, and then kind of at Gordon again, and then just starts to pan around the room a little bit.
Yeah, he also seems to be the first one that looks like he's leaving the room.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, actually, as the minute ends, he's kind of got one foot out the door, whereas everybody else seems like they're talking to Dave.
Yeah.
Or at least listening to what he's going to say. He doesn't seem to care. He's he's already on his way out. That's fine.
Well, and a little spoiler for, I think, tomorrow's minute. I don't know. Do you have this like looping, or are you able to kind of scroll back and forth?
Oh, I've been scrolling back and forth each time. Yeah.
So as the cameraman starts to step out that doorway, I want you to look over at that other wall, the framed, it almost looks like a little stage inside of a frame.
Okay. Yeah. I thought that was the sea or something, but, yeah, I get what you're saying.
So as he steps out, you see a little something start to emerge inside that frame.
Oh, yeah.
So that's just a little hint for tomorrow and the poor souls that are talking about that minute tomorrow.
Oh, right. Yeah. So I'm literally just now going backwards, forwards, just seeing this little, trying to work out what it is. Oh, it's tiny though, just above like the vase.
Yeah.
Is it his foot? It's literally like as his foot hits the floor, it goes up. Oh, well, I'll be tuning in to minute 32. Oh man, this has blown my mind.
Let's move on to the boom guy. He comes in. Let's see. He kind of comes into the room almost at a run. And I noticed, like, as he comes in, he's looking back over his shoulder at the doorway. And then, but as soon as he's, like, in the middle of the room, he kind of, like, if he's being chased into the room, it's like he forgets all about it, takes off the headphones, and then makes a beeline straight towards that tiny purple chair in the foreground, which he gets, like, halfway towards it, and then has this look of confusion on his face of, like, this thing's a lot further away than I expect it to be. And then, of course, he interacts with the chair right in front of the camera.
Yeah, he just sort of taps it. I thought he was going to pick it up or like slide it back like you would, pull a chair back to sit on it. But he just taps it and then he walks away and he just keeps looking. I don't know what he's looking for. He's
just a little confused.
And then, he just sort of heads to the back corner of the room. And
seems like most everyone seems to kind of gravitate towards that back section of the room once they're sort of once their main action for this minute is over, then they tend to just sort of meander back to the back of that room.
He seems to be the most scared looking. Like as you said, he runs into the room and he looks like he's being chased. He calms down until he touches the chair, but then as soon as he's walking away, he's constantly looking over his shoulder, looking around, but not like the cameraman who was kind of looking around, grinning and just taking it all in. This guy is terrified. He is looking around like, what am I looking at? What's going on? And I don't get why he takes off the headphones.
Yeah.
And then he sort of puts them back on.
I think
nothing is like, it's not recording anything. Nothing's happening. There has been no change from the moment he walked in to the moment he walked out. Yet he has decided, for a moment, I better take these off. I better put them back on.
Well,
I'm not hiring him. I'll tell you that.
I think because the next person to walk in is Harry, and he's the director of this documentary that they're filming. And I think once he enters the room, like that's when camera guy sets the cup back down and resumes his job. And then we have the boom guy, at this time he's still interacting with the chair and then turns around and sees that now camera guy is filming, so he better resume like what he slowly kind of gets back to what he's supposed to be doing. So I want to talk about Harry. He comes in and just kind of strides into the room. Like, Harry has been very go with the flow. Like, nothing really seems to upset him about this maze, this weird, little space that they're in. And he kind of stands around and just takes in a little bit of it, and almost his eye catches that frame, that picture frame, and he goes straight towards it and then interacts with it. And we find out that it's not really on the wall. It's kind of on the edge of the camera, if that makes sense.
Yeah. See, he is the only one who looks like he sees a dual kind of perspective of something.
Oh, sure.
Because he comes in and he looks at her, and it seems like he's looking at the same painting she's looking at, like, and facing kind of the same direction.
Yeah. And
then you even see him sort of look not over his shoulder, but look to the right, and then back at the painting, and then sort of to the right and walk off. And that's when he goes and touches it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, in the corner of the screen. So it seemed like he could see it almost in both locations.
Right, yeah.
But I may be reading way too much into this.
No, I think you're right, because I think if you follow his eye line, he and Annie are both looking the same direction, and then it's like it catches his eye in the off to the side there, and that's when he goes to investigate it. So, and he kind of like tips it back a little bit, like just kind of pushes it just enough, like the guy with the chair, just kind of gives it a little tap or.
Yeah.
So then finally we have Dave. He pops into the room and then says, what are you guys doing in here? And it's a weird question because, like, they don't know where they are. They don't know how, they don't know how to get out of here. So to ask them what they're doing is sort of a strange question.
Yeah. So I have some questions about Dave.
Please.
Considering I've missed minutes 0 to 30.
That's not my fault, man.
Okay. First of all, well, it sort of is, but I mean, only because you wouldn't have had me on if I'd seen it. So I was just, catch-22 right there.
Yeah.
But why is he wearing one glove? That's probably my first question.
Okay.
Whenever I see somebody wearing one glove is, why is he wearing one glove?
So, okay, the one glove thing is,
he has a pet falcon. That is the only acceptable answer right now.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember if they've explained the glove at this point. So I'm a little scared of saying why he's wearing one glove if they haven't explained it yet.
Fair enough. Why does he have a massive bag?
That's just like he packed, supplies for his, for this journey. He had some granola and I think there's duct tape and just a little bit of building supplies in there. I think he's got some small bits of cardboard, so if he needs to build another room, he can take the pieces out of the bag. And so I think he's got some supplies, tape, cardboard, maybe a few snacks, that kind of thing.
Okay. Is he a good guy? I mean, do we like him?
Yeah, I think Dave, is meant to represent that lost guy in his 30s, doesn't really know what to do with his life. And so really, just to blow this whole thing out of the mystery, the maze, I think, represents his not knowing what to do with his adulthood. He's has no direction in his life. So,
right. Got you.
Yeah, Dave is an interesting character. He can be a little frustrating. I think Annie tends to become the audience surrogate. She's the one that we relate to the most, because she's frustrated with Dave because he's being weird about, he built this maze obviously in their living room, and then she's got to try to get him to just finish this whole thing and get out of here. So.
Is she as directionless as Dave, or has she got a career and got it all together? And
yeah, she seems to be I think she's coming back from being away for a work thing for a few days. So that's kind of why he has this free time to screw around and build this maze. So yeah, she seems to have a lot more direction. Like maybe a few years ago it was her and Dave and Gordon, and they just hung out and, you know, drank beer and eat pizza and just, you know, had no real responsibilities. And then she finally got a job maybe, or got her stuff together. And I think she's been frustrated with Dave, like, growing up, you know.
Right. But, I'm not sure if they're going to stay together after this. I'm concerned. All right. Well,
I mean, that's okay. Yeah. So that takes us, you know, that's the end of most of my notes. We didn't really talk about, there's no real dialogue throughout this minute except for the little bit between Dave and Annie at the end. But the stuff you do hear this minute has like this weird calliope almost sounding circus music. It sounds like it's played over like little shitty speakers. There's like a lot of eerie sounds and like little tones as they, especially when they interact with things. Like I noticed when the guy taps on the little purple chair, there's like a little bing. Every time someone enters the room, they have like a tiny little ding sound, like almost announcing their presence. And then as far as sound goes, the one thing I noticed that added, I think, to the creepiness is their footsteps make no noise. Like they are not making any noise in this space. So I think it adds to the otherworldliness to it and makes it feel a little more eerie, I think.
Yeah. So, I mean, the music is sort of, I want to say like creepy fairground.
Yeah.
Is the kind of vibe you get from it. And you're right, all these sort of tones every time something happens. I suppose we're supposed to kind of alert ourselves to the fact that something is happening. I am a little bit intrigued by the dialogue just because she asks, like, what have you done? And I think, does he say, like, I can explain? Or, I think what he said. Oh, no, I'm sorry. So, I don't get the what have you done question. Because I'm assuming this is not the first part of the maze.
Right. You know, they've been in it for, let's see, actually, my minute 13 was the first time that you actually see inside the maze. And then I think minutes 14 or 15 is when people start to actually go inside the maze. So they've been in the maze now for,
well, like a good 15 minutes.
Yeah. And then they've only
of the movie
run into Dave, I think, within the last 5 minutes. I think they spent a little bit of time, stumbling around, getting themselves kind of lost, without Dave being there with them.
Right. Okay.
If I remember right, they get into kind of some trouble and Dave shows up kind of out of the blue and gets them out of the danger. And then this might even be, as they're fleeing that danger, everyone is kind of regrouping inside this room.
See, now that's interesting because I'm under the impression that they are in a maze made of cardboard in his apartment.
Right.
And now there is danger in there as well. So I just...
Well, he had to create, you know, booby traps and things like that.
Of course he did.
So, and
of course, I mean, it's a perfectly normal thing to do, isn't it?
Of course.
We've all had a long weekend.
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Oh.
So,
has he not heard of podcasting? He could have just started a podcast and it'd have been fine.
Yeah. Movie would have just been called Dave Made a Podcast.
Yeah. Right.
So are you thoroughly frustrated as Annie is?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what I want to do now. There's part of me that's like, oh, should I go back and watch up until this point? Or should I just go and watch the whole thing now?
Right.
But this is,
I think if you start watching it, you're gonna want to finish it. I really wasn't able to stop, you know, recording or stop watching and then go back to recording these minutes. So yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed the movie. So I would recommend just go enjoy the movie. I don't know where you are, if you have Hulu and if it's available there, but for me, it was available, on Hulu.
I have to check in the UK where it might be, because I don't think we get access to Hulu.
Oh, okay.
If I'm not wrong. So usually they just, which to be honest, a lot of the things we don't get that you've got, in the States, and we don't get it here.
Yeah.
It actually works out better for us because a lot of it goes to Netflix or Amazon or somewhere. So you can kind of, with less things, get more stuff.
Right on.
That's, it's convenient. Occasionally it's good not to have everything. Occasionally.
Yeah. I think that's where we're going to end it. I definitely would be interested to find out, what you do next with this information that you have. So,
yeah, I'm interested as well to find out what I do next.
But I do like the idea that you're going to show it to your wife with even less information than you had. So that should
I'm
be
just
fun.
going to be like, someone sent me this. What does it mean?
Very cool. So why don't you tell the listeners where they can find you and all about your shows?
Oh, okay. Well, where you can find me has now been simplified. You can just go to jasoncroxon.co.uk and you'll find all the different podcasts I have. I've embedded them all there, and links to the various places you can find them. And on Twitter, you can find me at jcroxon. Is the easiest one. I've got a couple of different shows. There's the one you mentioned at the beginning, Getting to Know Who. That's sort of a quiz show, game show type thing, where I get two guests to come on and answer questions about a total stranger, and we see if the more answers they start to know, they can maybe build a kind of profile of this person and start to have better guesses on the next couple of questions. And then I have another podcast called A Conversation With, which is just a different guest each week. They bring on a topic and we have a chat about whatever it is. And we've had a whole bunch of different topics from, Star Wars and Star Trek and sort of things like that, as well as Australian rules football or writing comedy for TV. So, a whole host of different things. And I'm just launching, possibly next week, a fitness podcast as well. So that'll be called All Across Fitness. But all of it is on jasoncroxon.co.uk.
Very cool. Sound like a very busy person, and
yeah, too busy probably. and my wife is quite pregnant at the moment as well.
Oh, wow.
So we're expecting our second son. So I'm not sure free podcasts will be allowed for much longer. But don't worry, everybody. Just maybe support me on Patreon. That way I can justify it.
There you go. Yeah. Well, I can't thank you enough for joining me here. I think it turned out a lot better than it would have been had I just been by myself talking about my observations for the minute. So I'm really glad that I was able to torture somebody else who had no background information on this.
Yeah, because there is the very real possibility that I cannot find this anywhere. So.
And this will be the only thing you've ever watched of it. And you'll be at a party talking to people. Yeah, I saw this part of a movie. It's about a maze. And
yeah, I'll just get in touch with Dave Made a Minute and be like, can you just send me all the minutes, please? I just need each one.
Yeah.
And just have it drip fed to me minute by minute.
Oh, talk about frustrating.
Do you know how long it is? How many minutes is it?
It's not a terribly long movie. I want to say it's like maybe an hour and a half long. Maybe somewhere around there. I'm not certain on the minute
kind of around
count,
the 90-minute mark.
Something like that, yeah.
Well, thank you for inviting me on, and it's been a real pleasure to. I had no idea what I was in for. I'm still not 100% sure I know what's happened, but I look forward to listening back to this.
Very cool, yeah. All right, that's where we're going to end it today. You can find me over on the Real Comic Heroes podcast, and just search Real Comic Heroes everywhere, and you will find me there. You can also find me on the Watchmen Minute podcast, where we are breaking down the director's cut of Watchmen 1 minute at a time, sort of like this movie here, but I think a little bit less puzzling. So.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Depends on your take on Watchmen.
Yeah. That's going to do it for myself. And again, thank you, Jason, for joining me. And To everyone else going on to the next minute, how about a high five?
There you go.
All right.
And then I could probably disarm all the traps. And then we could finish this maze. Who is with me?
That was Travis Bow of Watchmen Minute and Jason Croxon of Getting to Know Who taking on minute 31 of Dave Made a Maze. Travis will be back in minute 66. Next time on Dave Made a Minute, we got Rick Ingham and Julia Ingham of the Mad Max Minute taking on minute 32.
Thank you for listening to Dave Made a Minute. Intro dialogue snippets were taken from Dave Made a Maze, directed by Bill Watterson, written by Bill Watterson and Steve Sears, and produced by John Charles Meyer. Intro music is Diversion by The Equals, featured in the film Dave Made a Maze, and Life Cycle of a Match by Parvis Decree. Outro music is Leaving This God-Forsaken Place and Her Presence is Strong Here by Parvis Decree. Dave Made a Minute is a production of Lemming Drop Studio and all other featured podcast producers. You can find more content at lemmingdrops.com. Check us out on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Dave Made a Minute. If you like what you hear, throw us a rating and review on your podcatcher of choice, and check out all of the participants' other shows to spread the love around. Again, thank you for listening.
As long as we're all working together, this is going to be fine. It's going to be great.
I need you to notify the families of everyone who died here today.
Totally. Wait, what?